Welcome back, everyone. Today we've got something that we haven't looked at in a while. It's a little beat up. I ordered this mostly for the aesthetic, and that is a condenser microphone. Now this one is a BM3000 large diaphragm condenser mic. And let's go ahead and just check the box really quick. Looks like it got dinged in shipping. Operation guide: insert the microphone, plug in the microphone, take the microphone switch to the on position, adjust the voice controller. And caution, keep away from microphone and loudspeaker. Best distance 5 to 10 centimeters. Came in a variety of colors. I think I paid like an extra $1 to get it in silver, if I recall correctly. And the same operation guides on both sides. In fact, the same arts on both sides. So let's go ahead and get a look here. So we have a little card from Minlife, which is who this was ordered from. Best regards, Minlife store. Which I honestly think might be one of the only two things they actually did here, because there were a couple of brands that were selling this when I found it. So we have a very familiar looking chart, and the reason I say very familiar looking is the microphone that's in it, which I'm not using currently, looks suspiciously like the NW700 I have from Newer. Now it's no real secret that these condenser mics, regardless of who sticks their name on them, are a fairly easily acquired commodity. So if you go looking on Amazon, or not Amazon, AliExpress or Alibaba, you can get these in bulk in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, which is basically what I was after here. So let's look at what we have included. This is really bad plastic. This is a microphone mount, and this one is nowhere near as nice as the one that Newer included with the NW700. It's all plasticky and just not pleasant feeling or looking. I'm sure it works. We get a pop filter, which goes on this little insert here. And that actually looks decent. So this feels like cast aluminum and a mesh screen. We get a XLR to 3.5 millimeter cable, and then the Minlife BM3000 condenser mic itself. And wow, that is pretty big. Okay, so that is clearly for this pop filter. Pretty straightforward there. And then there's our XLR at the bottom. Does this unthread like the NW700 did? It sure does. In fact, you know what? Let me grab my NW700. So here's my Newer NW700. I'm going to take its shell off and slide that out. And would you look at how similar the bodies are, but look at how different the electronics are. So this NW whatever board they're calling it is clearly more advanced than this little single capacitor, single transistor trinket that's here. But what's fascinating to me is that these bodies are nearly identical, to the point where it would be fairly easy to use this electronic here or vice versa, depending on how they sounded. So if I said I want the aesthetics of this but this is better circuitry, sound-wise, which it very well may be. I could very easily flip the two around. In fact, I wonder, are these bodies interchangeable even? So let's see. That goes there. Not quite. And the distinction is that the NW700 body closes up a little quicker. But there's no reason I can't mix and match. I mean, these are clearly a same factory type production where depending on what you tell them you want, you're getting a slightly different package. So let's keep poking and see what else is inside here. There we go. So we've got 2 Phillips screws here. Which I'm sure caused this bottom assembly to basically just fall off. Hey, would you look at that? And then there's 1 screw here. That lets this whole XLR rigmarole slide right out. So it would not be terribly difficult to replace these 2 circuit boards. I mean, this one even has screw holes in the same place. Let's see if I... Now this is the part that I don't know how to get into without damaging it. Now this is the part where I don't think I can get quite as far into it as I want. So what I wanted to see was the actual diaphragm that was used here. And just for comparison, here's what the NW700 diaphragm, or I should say for comparison, here's how hard it is to get to the NW700 diaphragm. That's it. There it is. There's my diaphragm. This should be a similarly sized diaphragm. And there should only be one. I don't see a clear indication on how these grills come off of the capsule, which is disappointing to say the least. Let's see here. What if I... Nope. Nope. Well, I think that's going to have to be a unsolved mystery. Because I don't think I can get in there without destroying it. And I'm not quite willing to destroy it, although I can. It's a neat effect. I can see it through the mesh. I wonder if I got something really thin to pry at the edge, if maybe this just kind of like pops in and out. No, all I did was bend that piece of the mesh. Neat. Okay. Well, let's put it back together. And then we are going to test it. Now, I am going to have to cut before testing it, and the reason for that is I have no clue at all how loud this could potentially be. So we're gonna disassemble, or I'm gonna reassemble it off I'll reassemble it off camera, and then we will make sure that I get that point in the right direction. Be back, and we'll be recording with the BM3000, and we'll actually switch between it and the NW700. Although I would like to note that some of their instructions are completely false. the point about having a on button doesn't exist. There is no take the microphone switch to the on position. Now, I can hazard a guess that that may mean the microphone on position on my mixer here, which, by the way, we are going to be using a Sound Blaster K3 Plus for this duty. But typically, when I see an instruction written that way, it implies that there is an on switch on the device. And some of our other Phantom Power microphones have an on switch on the device. Some of my shotgun mics have an on switch, partly because they have their own internal power feature. But anyway, I'm going to be running a couple of quick tests so that I get the gain correct, and then we'll be listening to the BM3000. Which, man, they even cheap, like the shell is thinner than the NW700. Alright, welcome back. We are recording on the BM3000 at this point, and at least on my tablet here that I use as my monitor, it didn't sound terrible, but it definitely had a lot more background noise, and I'm betting that when I throw the NW700 on in a second, that'll be gone. Now, I will say that we are not using the included shock mount, although this looks serviceable. It just, I don't know, the plastic construction compared to my existing shock mounts, metal, does not inspire confidence, although this seems to hold my NW700 just fine, so we'll see. One thing I do want to point out, and I'm going to start moving it, is that this is a cardioid microphone, which means that when you get off-axis sound, let's turn all the way to behind it, there should be some sort of rejection. Now, I don't know if that's working at all, because I'm in my studio and I've got a couple of compounding factors. Number one, I don't have headphones on monitoring what's going on here. Number two, this is a relatively small space. The wall's only about 4 feet in front of me, so I can get a pretty decent amount of echo coming off the wall. That's not an issue for the mics that I normally use in here, which are Audio-Technica Pro 4.4 boundary mics, because I have them sitting on foam blocks with foam directly behind them. This, the concrete is directly behind, therefore there's going to be a little bit of bounce on that more than normal. So anyway, that's the BM3000. Let's cut over to the NW700. Alright, here's the NW700 in the microphone stand, and this should sound familiar. I used this for a lot of videos early on. And quite frankly, I expect this to sound better than the BM3000 did, even though these are very similar in construction. And just like the BM3000, this is a cardioid microphone, so I expect rejection when it's off axis. And I know the NW700 does, because the first thing I did with it on camera was throw it around back and forth and listen to the audio sweep side to side. Which, by the way, the only audio edit that I'm going to do to these two microphones is I'm going to copy the sound to both channels, because they are mono and I only have one, so I'm going to copy the audio to the left and right channel just so that it comes through both ears in case people have any sort of hearing issues. That's it. I'm not going to filter it. I'm not going to do anything to it. Normally, I basically do nothing to my audio. There's the odd occasion where I might have to adjust the gain up or down, or like deal with echo if I do something on site, but here in the studio, I don't touch it. I don't touch the gain. I don't touch anything. My audio is dialed in for the space, and I don't have to worry about it. And these are going to get the same treatment because that's how they would be used. All right, let's go ahead and switch back to the BM3000 and we'll wrap it up. So this is the part of a review where I actually don't really know which way it's going to go. But we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to talk about the price. And I paid for this microphone $14.99. Did I pay $14.99? Yes, I paid. Oh, sorry, I paid $14.69. There's a couple of other color options. I mentioned that it was on the box. It comes in black, pink, white. Those are all $20. And for the electronics in this, I would be much more upset at $20 than I am at $15, since that is more than I paid for the NW700, which clearly has better electronics in it. I have capacitors on both lines. I'm filtering a lot more. I expect that when I finish this out, I will find out that the NW700 sounded better. Now, how much better remains to be seen. And if how much better is marginal, I'm going to call the BM3000 a decent mic and say that it'll do what I want, which is I visually want this style on the desk when I do my news roundups, and that's it. Personally, if I don't like how it sounds, I may decide to go with building a Franken microphone. I can order another NW700 and put the electronics of it in the BM3000. The real issue is I cannot get this style microphone reliably from the sources that had it available. So assuming that the capsule is the same, which in this price band I can't imagine that the capsule itself is a big cost or changes very much. It's the electronics that I imagine do. I can salvage the electronics from an NW700 and then transplant them, which will make for another fun video with a soldering iron and some audio comparisons before and after transplant. But if it sounds fine, you know what, for 15 bucks, if you visually want something that looks like this, kind of hard to argue with it. But that all depends on how it sounds. This particular microphone was purchased outright on Amazon by myself, so, you know, sponsored by my wallet. As always, I want to thank anyone who helps support Pocketables, either by using our Amazon affiliate links or via Patreon and support like that helps make videos like this possible. I want to thank Electrix for providing our opening and closing themes. And finally, thank you for watching.